like to welcome you, dear colleagues and friends. I'm from Code Buy team, the champions, the four-time champions of the standoff competitions. But I'm talking about an entirely different topic today, the business-oriented approach on building the economically effective performance of cybersecurity department. I'm not going to use any specific terms and definitions here. In my report, my presentation, is going to be very specific. It starts from very practical aspects, and I took it from different positions when I worked in Skolkovo as an integrator, when I had some projects of mine. We work for Code Buy as well. We do some consulting. So those people who learn here started creating a strategy of the work of the cybersecurity in a holding. So this is what I would like to show you, a non-conventional approach, a look at the cybersecurity from the standpoint of the business. How we can explain the expenses on certain solutions to the managers. To everyone is going to be very useful to learn. I'm not going to stop at very obvious facts, but according to our estimates, the number of cyber attacks has increased. 95% of cyber attacks were used in the inside the organization. So we need to have the aligned performance of the services. Remember that the cybersecurity department has standard processes to take into account, but in actual fact, the heads of the cybersecurity departments take the competence of the production security, and I see such examples there as well in the industry. And these attacks are not just a one-time attack. Different attacks may last up to a year and a half, 2 years. The cybersecurity expert director should maintain a proper balance between the expenses and risks and reason the budget allocated. First of all, they need to set up the structure of cybersecurity embedded in the company. Sometimes it does not really happen. That's what they would like to achieve. They just need to identify the business continuity. For example, in SLA, cybersecurity people, what they are supposed to do, or sometimes the retailers, for example, when the head of the technical support team, the technical support team has to maintain cybersecurity. So there is division by processes, process IT, process cybersecurity. That's the principal model of maintaining cybersecurity. That's the method of treating the risks in cybersecurity to make the decision. So the strategy, the things that we are making the strategy of developing cybersecurity in the business-oriented cybersecurity. So it includes 5 steps. Our tasks, as our colleagues stipulate, inevitable and dangerous events, they are top-notch, but we need to reach them. But to do that, we just move to the business processes, to cyber risks and economic evaluation, and use specific tools here to do all that. Also, the balanced scorecards. So here is CISO today and the business partner for cybersecurity that you will require tomorrow. That's what we move towards. Alexey Lukatsky mentions that the metrics that business is not very much interested, all these time to detect, etc. I've just put them here in the format of the KPIs, which are of course important. They have to take them into account, but We're not focusing on these KPIs. They are required, of course, to maintain cybersecurity. What about size, though? These are about cybersecurity risks. I would agree with Mr. Lukatsky. It's just like being a shaman. If you don't understand where this expert's evaluation gets from and the KPIs get from, let me explain where this shaman approach gets from. Standard things that can be rephrased as identification. We identify the context, research, so we conduct audit and we research whether it meets the internal compliance, whether it's external compliance, the norms that meet these compliance, or we talk about best practices, standards, etc. So the identification processes, we speak not only about the cybersecurity audit. We talk about cybersecurity audit in terms of business. We use business tools here with the following results. The methodology is very familiar to you. It's the combined one. The combined one is the one that we used to use here, and our colleagues stipulate that cybersecurity is split into 5 trends. There was a very interesting presentation about some kind of cybersecurity and compliance, normative compliant. So it's the trends that we just need to focus mainly. So basically, that's what it's written in the technical standard, the document that a lot of people keep forgetting about. The technical standard is the cornerstone document based on which you can make a multi-vector defense mechanism and strategy. These what the risks of threats look like. This is what these risks look like separately. This is what we do to fill out the matrix of risks and threats, and we moved from risks and threats to scenarios, to risks, and then we come up with the protection measures. This is how we ground the requirements for cybersecurity. Now let's just talk about how to talk to business partners with cybersecurity topic. All I mentioned previously, but now it was important, but now it's a more important thing. There are multi-level attacks existing. Let me just show it visually, and there are different attacks that exist on different business machines, and together we use methods which combines business processes. I was actually in charge of that project. We were running this optimization with different facilities in Moscow, with further implementation of IoT systems and supporting cybersecurity systems. And we need to use business analysis tools. I'm showing you. Let me talk about these business tools. In the end, we actually see that we'll have to speak about the return of the investment to the cybersecurity. There is a delta ROI with the embedded projects, with the return of the investment of the digital transformation, we get a certain result in the end. So here are the numbers that you can calculate and take into account. A key factor for success will be given to you a little later, and how we measure it will be explained later. So the business-oriented cybersecurity, first of all, we set the goals and targets and the main rhetorics. Cybersecurity, dear colleagues, is about the main activity, maintenance. So we just need to move away from the cost part, to make sure that we provide cybersecurity as the winning department, which would help us reduce costs, make the company more resilient, more stable. So, in other words, help company earn money, so that we are perceived as a department that helps company earn money. I've received a question, by the way. People ask, we provide cybersecurity in the facility. On the other hand, we make sure that our products make the company more sustainable and more competitive, also for some foreign customers. This is what the system looks like. All these slides will be available to you, so don't you worry. You will see them in detail. So first of all, we just need to identify the principal cybersecurity model. We take the risks into account. We take the budget into account. We use special means of protection to reduce cybersecurity risks. So we just choose this cybersecurity as a service. We outsource it, but immediately we have this question: whose resources we are going to use for this money? What are we going to buy? Whether we'll have enough competence to maintain and service the equipment we are going to buy. We have risks arising with the outsourcing model. So if we speak about supply chain attack, we set the requirements to our stakeholders, all the stakeholders and contractors and subcontractors about the requirements, the recommendations, the audit. The audit for internal compliance is important here, and we also give the results of the audit of the cybersecurity, which were linked to the actual schedule of the cybersecurity events on the enterprise. First of all, we just need to collect financial and economic indicators. So the financial department, the production department would have to provide some statistics, and this is what the evaluation of the investment capabilities looks like in some of the medical facilities. So, first of all, we need to collect information about production facilities. We need to get the structure in a system of the balanced scorecards. We just need to combine it with our structure of 2.5. And then here is the balanced scorecard system, where we just show the KPIs of those maintaining cybersecurity. But for each and every one, there will be a separate function. We identify the technological capabilities and we put them in the matrix. We evaluate our assets in terms of their criticality. We fill out this matrix. The impacts, not just the local impact, but also along the production chain. We just need to have a complete diagnostics of the activities. So that's the business analysis. It's the model that takes into account the environment, external environment, set the profile for the competitor. We understand the strengths and weaknesses by making a business analysis. And here is yet another example, the level of maturity of the cybersecurity processes. So we have this all in comparison and we do the correlation. We do the strengths and weaknesses analysis, the SWOT analysis. Then we have the metrics of each and every process related to the functional units. This is what it looks like in practice. And whether our strategic capabilities and abilities correlate with the representation and foundation of the cybersecurity projects. For example, we have the strategy for diversification, whether it meets this diversification strategy, so that we speak with the business on the same language. So we choose the competitive strategy. The supercritical asset may be very, very much secondary to the business, and they are not going to invest any money. And if we focus on that asset, the business will never ever listen to us. And here's the strategic map I wanted to show you, the strategic map that I borrowed from a realistic project. This is how we work, and we cut down on losses, and here we have those numbers, those business indicators where we can integrate this, and you cut down on the costs, you increase the reliability of the company becomes much more attractive for the investors, to the investors. Here's the structure of cybersecurity, here's the map of maintaining cybersecurity, and each function has its own regulation. The regulation is created, and now we just have this feasibility study. Just in order to make this feasibility study for the project, so we just have to show the scenarios for actual threats. That's about money. And the reputational risks are evaluated. They evaluated the following way. after cyber attack, what's going to happen? How much will it affect our share price and stock price, direct and indirect losses? These are all reputational losses, and we measure them. We set the rating of the projects. We prioritize what follows what. It's very important for the integrators. If we speak about feasibility study for the projects and the order in terms of the criticality of these projects, we combine the losses for the insurance company. So in the end, we have this project calculator and how they affect that in money, in monetary losses. Therefore, this is what it looks like having the visualization. But what's next? And next thing we understand, if we have integrity, compliance, availability. Availability is the most defining thing because it provides business continuity. These are the things that we would like to achieve. Therefore, if we have these categories of possible losses and damage, that could be the downtime of the equipment. That would affect the CapEx, it would affect OpEx as well. Sometimes we just need to move from CapEx to OpEx. Where else can we see such losses? They may be direct or indirect in terms of the net profit. They could be direct and indirect in terms of compliance. So we'll be losing a certain amount of money, not just for fines, on fines. Very soon we'll just have some fines on violations of the personal data, etc. So there will be quite a lot of compliance-related losses, etc. So these costs are split before the incident and after the incident, and we soon understand that our company will soon be hacked. So what are we supposed to do after the incident? Our KPI will be much more related to how soon we'll recover after the incidents. The return on the investment, we measure it like I'm showing you here. What's important here to adjust is that we take into account some critical success factors. For example, certain tests may affect the return on the investment by running some pilot projects. Pilot projects were discussed in some of the previous presentations, and that was very interesting. I would like to thank you for that very interesting presentation. I absolutely agree with you that before we pilot any solution, we would not be able to say that it would cost us thus and thus amount of money in terms of ROI. What's more important? If the company is actually trading at the stock market, it provides consolidated financial reporting. Sometimes the cyber security experts do not consider vital assets and non-tangible assets, and sometimes the non-tangible assets have the most money. Sometimes we ignore that simple fact. So in the end, we can see the combined statistics of a certain CyberSec project with the embedded CyberSec tools, where we take into account NPV, IRR, ROI, etc. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for joining me here for this quick session. It was very quick. I was talking too fast, but I was trying just to convey the main steps that we had covered over the last year. I was working on projects, was consulting system integrators from the tech segment to the balanced scorecard. So my conclusion is that the contemporary head of the cybersecurity department, if they are not into business, if they are not aware of the business tools that they can use there for their job from MBA courses, their future will be much more endangered, and all of the risks will not be transparent. They will be just like shaman type risks. So I agree with Alexei that we just need to learn to speak the language of the business to the business. Thank you very much.
Да, пожалуйста. Иван, спасибо большое за доклад.
Ivan, thank you very much for your presentation. I skipped that point. You mentioned that we can get the slides. I couldn't even have time to take pictures of your slides. You skipped through them very quickly. These slides will be available in the recording, and you can check this QR code, and you can contact me and my colleagues, and we will share all the information with you and answer all of your questions. Thank you very much.
Добрый день. Там в одной из презентаций, в одном
Hello.
слайде был
On one of the slides, there was one point that you evaluate also the strategic development of the company. So you're also contacting the plan department and the strategic development department. Do you really mean whether we are focusing on the planning department? Yes, you have a strategy, you contact them. Naturally, we do that. We have these questions with the financial department, legal department, department of marketing. You ask them questions. What are the risks if this drops? They will not talk to you. But if you ask them, what's going to cost you if this drops? Then they'll start talking to you. If they lose certain money, if we do not borrow the business terms and talk to business with the business language, won't be able to measure any risks. That's the whole story. So with no more questions, thank you very much once again. And I'm very delighted that you found time to find your time on Saturday here at 4 o'clock to listen to my presentation. Thank you very much for joining me here, and see you next time.